Well, welcome to California, guys, and I'm here thanks in no small part to you guys watching this channel and sharing it, even though I really have never asked you guys to. And that gave me a wonderful opportunity to help out my mom, help out you guys, some first-hand knowledge about golf carts for some upcoming projects, and I get to work really hard thanks to this big heavy box from Vatrer batteries. How do I get to help out my mom? Well, this is her golf cart and it's dead. This is a 48-volt golf cart, and the four 12-volt odd-sized batteries it came with are not functioning anymore. So these seats come off pretty easily. Just lift up. Not much on that battery. This is going to be the main positive, and that's the main negative over there. So all told, we have 6.8 volts on a 48-volt system. In fact, it's so low that the charger I replaced with a updated charger right here. If we plug it in to charge, this doesn't even start up. We get no indicator lights because the battery voltage is too low. Now, it's not really too surprising because these batteries are pretty old anyways, and we've been hesitating on replacing them until we figured out what we wanted to do. The price on these four odd size 12-volt batteries is pretty substantial, but in a golf cart without batteries is completely worthless. But at the same time, if you price out a replacement golf cart, they're pretty expensive. It's almost like the battery is the entire expense. So it's usually going to be a lot cheaper to replace the battery than to get a new golf cart. So the second thing I said is that I can help you guys out. Vatrer did partner up with me, and they agreed to go ahead and give out a battery to one of my viewers, and we'll talk about that more later, because I don't really know how it's going to work yet at this time. Even though this is not your standard club car, this is an easy go. They do make batteries for 36 volts, 48 volts, and of course, as direct replacements for almost any golf cart out there. Now, I haven't taken this thing apart to find out if it's a drop-in direct replacement. I'm assuming that it will take a little bit of doing because I haven't unboxed it yet right there. Now, if we first talk about these lead acid batteries from Trojan, like I said, these are 12 volt, but they're not a standard RV size battery. They're calling them a T1275 plus. Now, if we were to go to Trojan's website, they have a very convoluted way of rating these batteries. They're calling it about 150 amp hours, but they have different ratings based on how many amperage you're drawing on it continuously. So it's a little bit unfair to compare everything together. Of course, the third benefit of this video is that now I'm going to learn a little bit more secrets about golf carts and how to repair them and or modify them for some future projects I have coming up. And as an RV technician, I can tell you I have 1, 2, 3, 4. These are 12-volt batteries, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cells. But if we look at this, this is the positive and that's the negative. These are all in series. So you have this one connected from the negative to the positive of that battery, negative to the positive of this battery, negative to the positive of this battery, and that means this is the negative and that's the positive, like we already discussed. Now, this is all one great big battery at this point. When we do think batteries in series, we do add up the voltages, but the amperage stays the same. So at 12 volts, this is about 150 amp hour battery. It doesn't increase the amperage at all. And besides all the spiders that are deciding to live in here and frighten me a little bit, these batteries are lead acid batteries, so they do require constant care. They like to corrode. You have to add water to them, and they do have a battery memory to them. They can, if you drop them below 50%, you can start damaging these batteries. So even best case scenario with a lead acid battery rated at 150 amp hours, we legitimately should only use about 75 amp hours before we call these things depleted and dead. Now, one thing that I have learned about this Easy Go golf cart, besides the fact that the battery charger will not work unless you have at least 24 to 36 volts on the batteries themselves, is that this has a tow haul button right there, which also doesn't work unless you have battery voltages, I think at least 12 volt. So I cannot move this golf cart from its position because the batteries are dead. So I have to do all the work right here in the sunlight. But that's okay, because I hope this is going to be a fairly simple job. first, let me go ahead and put this out there. This is a big boy. This is a heavy battery. It's at least a 2-person lift. I am very stubborn and I don't have anybody to help me. And I can tell you my car is not too pleased with the squatting that this battery is given. So needless to say, get somebody to help you. Don't do what I'm doing. Oof. So first things first, let's go ahead and unbox this, and I'll try to tell you why I did agree to accept the battery from Vatrer. And it's not just because the price is right. I do have one of their batteries in my motorhome, and I've been very pleased with it, and with the build quality, and with how well it's been holding up. They've had exceptional customer support, and have always answered my questions that I had. And so I'm equally interested to find out how well this one will perform. Gotta get this thing out. Looks like it has been packaged very well, which is good because golf carts can be a little bit rough because they don't have the best suspension on them, and we all do fun things with them that we shouldn't be doing. All right, let's go ahead and try to save my back a little bit rather than lift it out. First thing we should point out, this is a lithium iron phosphate battery, which means it's a very stable chemistry. It's not prone to catch fire. In fact, in most cases, it can't burn at all. This is a high quality steel case, and it has 2 built-in handles. The battery on my RV has a very similar setup as it. They're calling it a 150 amp hour battery at 51.2 volts, which means it's comparable to those 4 Trojan batteries, except that we get all 150 amp hours of this battery, whereas with the other batteries, these are lead acid batteries, so if we take them below 50% of their discharge, which is about 75 amp hours, we will start damaging the plates on them, even if we keep the water level good. Now each one of these batteries from Trojan is about 13 inches wide, about 7 inches long, about, well, with the post, call it about 13 inches tall. That also means it's about 22 inches wide, even though it's not quite square. If we go to the back of that battery there over to here, we're just a little bit longer than 21 inches. A Vatrer lithium iron phosphate battery is only 22 inches long. Looks to be about 12 inches wide and just under or just over 11 inches tall. It's one of the great features about lithium batteries is now we're getting twice the capacity of those 4 lead acid batteries. This takes up the same footprint as 3 of those lead acid batteries, not counting the one in the back. We won't have anything back there anymore. It doesn't have an acid electrolyte in there that can boil over and creating a mess on the ground underneath the golf cart. And because this is one battery, all self-contained with all the cells in there, we only have 2 battery terminals we have to worry about. We don't have to worry about all those cables that connect everything together. And of course, this does have an on-off button right there. It does look like it has Bluetooth connectivity on it and another plug right there that I think you can hook up to an auxiliary like display, touchscreen display that you can mount on the cab or the dash of the golf cart. Let's see if the literature right here will explain anything. We got the installation instructions right there. It does look like they're recommending the, I don't know, I'll never pronounce this right, the Zhaojiang electric app. It's got an elephant on there, so you can download that and talk to the battery. And it looks like we're at 48% is how it's shipped. Remaining capacity is about 75 amp hours. As it sits here, that means it has about the same capacity as those 4 lead acid batteries. We can scroll down, we can see the balance out on all the cells. Of the 16 cells there, it'll tell you what the temperatures are. Straight from your phone while you're driving. I've already shown that, so that's nice. You got the wiring schematic right here. It shows you pretty much how simple it's going to be. It looks like it's just going to be a drop-in connection, and you have a couple of QR codes that'll actually tell you how to install it and register the battery. We open up the manual, we can get all the good information right here. It says 150 amp hours or 7,680 watt hours. This will give you all your charge ratings and your discharge rates. Even there's a breakdown of that. I don't like to tear these batteries apart. That's not my field of expertise. So they already have a picture of it all torn apart and how the whole system goes together with the BMS built into it. So another great thing about this is that Vatter's BMS system. Of course, the second thing that concerns people about lithium batteries is going to be temperatures. If they get too cold, you can damage them. If they get too hot, they can damage them. So the specs on these cells is going to be, you can charge it up to 55 degrees Celsius, which is about 131 degrees Fahrenheit. The discharge window is going to be between negative 20 degrees Celsius to 60 degrees Celsius, and you want to store it between 0 and 45 degrees Celsius. Even though it gets very hot in Arizona, 140 degrees is still hotter than I'm going to get on most days in Arizona. So we're safe there. So it is important to note that even though this does have a low temperature cutout from the charger on the BMS, there is no heaters built into it. So if you are going to store it outside where it will be below freezing outside, you might want to consider getting a heater pad to put underneath it, which would work pretty well with the steel case being able to absorb that heat that you will provide it. And then lastly, this does have a power button right there. You can turn the system on. Let's go ahead and see what our battery voltage is. They ship it at 52.7 volts. Now with that switch right there, that also means the BMS handles overcurrent protection. So I know a lot of people are concerned about runaway loads that will cause the battery to overheat or have problems, but it has its own logic that will actually has overcurrent protection. So if the amp draw is too much, it'll turn off the battery too. First things first, I need to disconnect the batteries here. The main ground is over here. Wrench on this one. Now, one thing I will say about lead acid batteries, besides being filthy, gross, causing problems, and requiring a lot of maintenance, they're also pretty heavy. Alright, I don't think I'm going to be able to reuse this clamp either. Let's see if that will work, and that will work, and that will work. Alright, one. Alright, 4. Oh, I'm tired. Get these out of the way. Even though there's not a lot of acid down in there, we still do want to go ahead and rinse all this out. To get rid of some of the spiders too. That's the new battery's going to have a steel case on it, and I don't really need to have this acid all over that, so I'm going to go ahead and neutralize the acid with some baking soda, and hopefully we shouldn't see too much bubbling. And this tray is all plastic, which is a nice feature too. Looks like the RV world could take some cues from the golf cart world, because every single one of those pockets that are in that plastic housing has a weep hole in it to allow water out. Manufacturers in the RV world never would have done that. I'd have to drill them in all the battery trays. Now while I let that go ahead and air out and dry in the sun, let's go ahead and address the two most important features about moving from lead acid to lithium that I'm sure everybody wants to know. And while I did say it was a big boy and it needed 2 people, lead acid batteries aren't light either. So just one of these batteries is 37 kilograms. That makes more sense. It seemed heavier than 37 pounds, or 84 pounds. So just one of these is 84 pounds. That's a lot of weight. With 4 batteries, that's about 340 pounds. That's almost the weight of 2 adults. Now again, this is a 2-person lift. Don't do what I'm doing. Alright, so I'm completely on the scale there, and we are at 133 or 134 pounds, or that's going to be 60.5 kilograms. So this one battery with twice the capacity, only 3/4 of the size, weighs 100 pounds less than those 4 wet cell batteries. So then what's the second question? These Trojan batteries are listed for about $300 a piece. So 4 of them, that's $1,200. Whereas this one Vatrer 48 volt golf cart battery and a quarter the less of the size, with free shipping, it's about $1,700. It requires no maintenance whatsoever, and it has a 5-year warranty. If it fails to work, they will go ahead and replace it. All right, so with that all out of the way, my first question is, will this strap or this clamp work on the battery? And it really is just a direct drop-in replacement. It looks to me like the answer is maybe. Now on the base of it does have these flanges where you could probably screw down some straps or some bolts or some self-tapping screws if your golf cart isn't quite universal enough to fit this, but I think this is going to be a direct replacement, just using those J-bolts that are there. And then looking at this compartment right here, looks like the only thing that we do have is some ledges right there that were used to separate the 3 batteries right there. So I think I could probably put it on top. I just wouldn't want to have all these as high points, and then we can distribute the entire weight of the battery all in this flat area. So I just have to cut those off. And we'll find out pretty fast. Yeah, it worked really well. Such as a wide base on it, I was able to keep it flush with the rest of the plastic right there. So now it's flush all the way around. Well, I'm going to go ahead and risk it all and install the battery. Now remember, get help. Don't do it my way. It doesn't fit. That's unfortunate. It's hoping to be a drop-in replacement. Maybe I should have taken measurements. So it looks like this flange is probably just about 3/16 of an inch too wide on both sides. It was scraping in this black plastic bucket. And I can't really cut that off because that's part of the load-bearing side. So I think the easiest thing for me to do, even though it's not easy, is to cut off a little bit of the base of that flange. Again, not ideal. We'll just be aiming to cut this about in half. Right about there. On both sides. Having those slots will make it a lot easier. Hope you guys noticed that I covered the terminals up, the cap is on, the power is off. And I'm just going to protect the edges of it a little bit. Won't be that important. Should just keep the edge from rusting so easily as exposed. Oh, that's much better. Well, I might have spoken too soon. So this cover, that covers over the contacts right there, the relay, and the brains of the whole operation. I just have to make a little bit of space right here for it to be able to work. And that'll be done very easily with a pair of tin snips, just like this. Alright, so now I can hook up the battery cables, and then I can put this cover on, and we'll still be able to access the button right there. This is important. Remember, I bought that really cheap battery charger for the previous batteries. I don't know that I really want them to be connected to this because it was a pretty cheap one, and I'm not sure it's very compatible with it. So what I'm going to do is order the correct one from Vatrer. They do have a specific charger for this battery, and I think most of the time it comes with the kit. Like I said, this one's set up for lead acid, and it probably wouldn't damage the battery because it only got up to 48 volts instead of 51, so it just won't get a full charge on it. But I think that's going to be fine too, because this harness right here, which is going to be too short to get to the battery cables, is the only one that's too short, and that goes straight to the plug over there. So I'll be disabling the charge plug for now. Before we worry about the battery connections, let's first make sure that the hold down clamps are going to work. So I can put that one in right there. I think it's going to fit. It seems to work. Most importantly, the seat fits back on. So almost a drop-in replacement, just a little bit of modifications, but using the same hardware wasn't too much. If those flanges of the battery were a little bit narrower, it would have been perfect. Okay, so with that, basically all I have left to do is hook up the batteries at the terminals right there. We're going to eliminate 2 of these wires, so we're just really going to be down to 3 on each terminal. Should have been better if this was ground and that was positive. That's the feedback I'll give Vatrer on that one. Now, we already agreed we're not going to be hooking up the charger here, so I don't need anything but these right here and the big battery cable. So 3 of them. We'll hook up positive first. Now I did go ahead and clean off the main battery cable right here, but that ring terminal looks like it's seen better days. And well, I was just going to go ahead and replace the ring terminal. Acid has a way of getting into the braided cables quite a bit, and because I had the same 6-gauge wire already made up, it's going to replace the wire completely. So I'll just take it off right there. Alright, so now following the instructions, we're going to put the smaller ring terminals on top. Looks like this is the smallest one. Feel comfortable right about there. We're just going to do the exact same thing with the negative cables. Or tie up any bolt, or I don't want to tie up any cables yet until I make sure it works. Alright, so first things first, I got the key in the ignition. We'll turn the battery on. So far that's good. Let's see if we put it in reverse, what happens. Nothing, but it does read fully charged there. See if I turn the headlights on. Alright, headlights work. You know what I'm not hearing is the buzz, because I'm in reverse. It's not doing anything. So I guess this is where we come to part 3, where I learn how golf carts work. If I read it right here, basically it says turn the key on to neutral right there, and then you would put it in tow, and then as long as you have battery power, it unlocks the motor, but that motor is not unlocked. These wheels aren't moving, and so that didn't do anything. The only other thing I can think of currently is because I didn't hook up the charger port right there. Maybe it needs to make sure that it's not plugged in or the battery voltage is good, because if you have the harness plugged in, you want to be able to drive away. So red and this gray were hooked up to battery power. Let me go ahead and turn the battery off. So those 2 were hooked up to battery power, positive, and then you have black right there, which was hooked up to battery power, negative. Now this is more than long enough to get there. These definitely are not long enough to get to where it needs to go, and I'm wondering why it has a block on it. It's almost like a temperature sensor, which kind of would make sense because I don't know what the wire would be there for. So I think if I follow this down, there's a blue wire here. It goes to a connection that goes to a harness that's not part of the battery. So that blue wire has to be hooked up to power. So I think we do need power there. And I think this down here is that DC to DC converter, because over here is the red wire that goes over here. There's a 20 amp fuse that goes to here, and I think it takes 48 volt or 51 volts and steps it down to probably about 12 volt, mostly for in this setup. The headlights. After that, some golf carts might have a radio or a charge port, but this doesn't have anything else other than that. So that's basically my long way of saying I think maybe I do need to hook up the power and ground. So that wire does appear to be about 12 gauge, so I'll just make an extension using some 12 gauge wire. Alright, so now I just need to hook up the ground, and then we'll try this out and see if I bricked the golf cart or if there was more problems than a battery issue. Now, I am in no way very proud of having this many ring terminals on a battery connection. And it's fine because I think down the road I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I'll give you a little bit of a guess. There will likely be a bus bar, and I did talk to Vatrer, and they did say there's no problem hooking this up to a solar panel on top of the roof there to keep the batteries topped off, so you don't even have to use that charger, which is another reason why I wasn't going to install the charger anyways, but looks like we're going to have to. Even though it's probably temporary, I'm going to go ahead and install some split loom on this extension here too, just because, you know, people like to say that I'm doing something wrong all the time. All right, let's try this again. Power on. 52.6, 52.7. Nothing on that side. Make sure I'm in run. So we'll go ahead and turn it on. Hey, that's what I was missing before. 52.7. So now my next step is to put the seat on. Before I put the seat on, I'm going to go ahead and turn the battery off one more time and secure all the wiring so I don't damage it driving down the road on my test drive. Pin back in. And one day I'll find other pins for this, but I don't think that's important. Go ahead and... oh, I haven't turned it on yet. I need to clean up my area, and then I have to clean up my mess. Alright, let me go ahead and turn that on. Turn that on. Brake on. Okay, this is a lot faster than it was before. I was supposed to go 10 miles an hour in here, and I've got to believe this is about 15 or 20 miles an hour that I was going. That was almost too fast. There's still throttle left. That's too fast. I mean, likely the 51 volts or the 52 volts compared to the 48 volts that it was getting before is contributing to it. But also, it weighs 100 pounds less now too. Now up over past this turn, there's going to be a hill. We'll see how it does the hill. I don't know why that would affect anything, but we'll go ahead and check with the app to see what kind of a wattage it's using and what amperage it's using that at. So here I am going to start up the hill here in a second. Alright, so we're going up the hill now. Looks like we're using 187, 100. Not a lot. I'm going too fast, guys. It looks like it peaks out about 190 amps, which translates to about 3,600 watts. That's a lot of power. So overall, I would say that was a very successful test of this Vatrer lithium iron phosphate 48 volt, 150 amp hour battery. Of course, the only thing we didn't really check was to see if it would charge using this battery charger. So I do suspect that it will. So if I plug that in, we'll know immediately because this fan will fire up. Fan fired up. So if we go to the app, we can see that it is charging. We're putting out about 11 amps, and looks like it's going to take a little over 7.5 hours, at least currently, to charge up the battery completely. And that's going to take well into the night. Now, this was not quite a drop-in battery replacement, but it was very close to a drop-in battery replacement. I had to do a few modifications, which is not uncommon when you're talking about how many different kind of golf carts there are out there. But for the most part, this battery fit pretty good. And I like that it was only one battery, no connections, no communications you had to do on it. It's just a smart system with a nice BMS. So while this charges up, what I'm going to do is kick it back over to, I guess, Shop James. Now he might be able to explain the second reason why I was so excited to share this adventure with you guys. Thank you so much, James. Now, for whatever reasons that I can't really explain, you guys seem to like to watch my channel, and as a way for me to thank you for watching this channel and subscribing, when Vatrer approached me about doing another battery installation, I wasn't that interested in doing it, but then they sweetened the deal by saying that they would give away one of these batteries to one of my viewers. And that's a pretty good value no matter which way you view it. First, let me just say, thank you so much for following along on this journey for the last few years. We're getting pretty close to a pretty substantial threshold as far as the subscriber count goes. I never really imagined anything like this would be possible, and it's really mostly because of you guys out there, not because of me just being a fool with a camera. And then secondly, these giveaways are a little bit stressful for me personally because I want to make sure I'm doing everything fair to make sure everybody has a good opportunity to do this and there's no hard feelings involved in it. I will put in the description below a link to the rules to explain all the rules, and also a link to all the discounts that Vatrer is offering friends of the channel, which are pretty substantial when it comes to savings for a good quality battery that I think Vatrer is improving on each time I do a video. Now, if you followed along in this video, you might have noticed that I had a little bit of problematic issue with the charger for the Vatrer golf cart battery that they sent me, because it didn't arrive with the battery. Now, because of that logistical issue, Vatrer did extend to my viewers and my channel the giveaway for a few weeks. All you'll have to do if you want a chance to win one of these Vatrer lithium iron phosphate batteries is make sure you subscribe to the channel, go to the comment section down below, make a comment however you'd like it to be, making sure that you put hashtag Vatrer or hashtag Vatrer giveaway. In the description below is going to be a link to the Vatrer giveaway that you'll just have to sign up for to make sure that you are registered for the giveaway, and do that before September 22nd of 2024. After September 22nd of 2024, we will randomly pick a viewer from the comment section down below, and you guys will win a battery. It's pretty much that simple, not much to it. I'm happy to do my small part to give away what could be almost $2,400 worth of batteries. So that's kind of fun, but do make sure you go to the description down, but do make sure that you go down to the description below and ensure that you understand the rules completely, because I do have a habit of always being rushed and forgetting to tell you guys some things. Again, all this is happening because you guys are watching this channel and enjoying it, and somehow returning to it periodically at least. But thanks a lot for watching, guys. All right, well, good morning the next day. We let this plugged in and charged. Look at that, 100% charge. We have 155.8 amp hours capacity. Our cell balance, might bother some people, it's not completely balanced there. And that's for me to drive this yet again and find out what the rate of discharge is and how many hours of use it would be at a normal clip, not speeding around like I was doing yesterday. Alright. So currently it looks like at a normal pace, so it's about 8 miles an hour. We could drive this, I'm going to call it 9 hours. So 9 hours at 8 miles an hour. Is that really 72 miles? That seems crazy. Now, while the weather is more than beautiful enough to try to drive around for 9 hours on a golf cart, I don't think that's what this was intended for. And I don't have that kind of patience to, how do I put it, drive for 9 hours with a express consent of just trying to deplete a battery. Also, that means I'd have to get on the main roads because I'm not driving around a campground or a resort for 9 hours straight looping around. But that would be interesting to see if we could get actually 72 miles of range out of a golf cart. I think that's a couple rounds of golf for sure. I think my mom's going to be more than happy and pleased with her new golf cart. After all, the biggest expense on a golf cart is going to be the battery. And like we pointed out before, to replace the 4 batteries, that would have been at least $1,200. The 1 battery is at a pretty good price right now, $1,700. better performance. It's really going to be like having 8 of those wet cell batteries, which will be $2,400. So overall, I think she's going to be very pleased with this. I'm very pleased with this. And that was, I wish I could say it was fun, but my back hurts a little bit because I did what I told you guys not to do. It's a heavy battery, so don't do that. I hope this inspires some people to not give up on their golf cart and to substitute maybe a Vatrer lithium iron phosphate golf cart battery for those lead acid batteries once they go bad, because not having to do maintenance on it is going to be a win for everybody too. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. I have to go give my back a break. Bye. Well, here's the update nobody was expecting. I finished installing that Vatrer 48 volt golf cart battery, and I thought I was done, but I did reach out to Vatrer and say, hey, wasn't I supposed to get a charger and all the hardware for that battery too? And they said, wait, you didn't get the second package? So there it is, the second package that I was supposed to be getting. So if you get one of these batteries, do keep an eye out for a second package here. So it looks like in this first big box, by the weight of it, it's probably going to be that charger that we probably wanted from the get-go, because, you know, I do want a different charge profile on a lithium iron phosphate battery, especially on something that you're going to keep charged up all the time. It says it's a 58.4 volt charger, puts out, looks to be about 20 amps at 58.4 for lithium iron phosphate. But that's not all, because there's lots more stuff in here. It looks like this is going to be a connector to connect to the battery. So, but it also looks like there's another box in here. Ooh, look at that. There's a harness. I think this is what I was asking for at the very beginning. Look. So it looks like those elusive bolts that I needed for the battery connection. So I'll probably change those out anyways, and the boots for the terminals. I didn't like how there's no protection on the terminals right there, especially on the positive. If somebody were to drop a wrench or something down in there, it would short out and cause some problems. I'm very pleased that Vatrer did provide these boots. I did have that critique too. Let's see, there's one more thing in here, and I think this is what I thought I was going to get, but it didn't show up. And it looks like it's going to be the touchscreen. Now, if you guys remember correctly, about a month and a half ago, I installed some Vatrer server rack batteries, and they had a touchscreen on it. I'm suspecting this is going to be a very similar touchscreen. So that'll be nice. This will be able to mount on the golf cart up front, which would have been very nice before I went on a test drive with this to have, so I could see what's going on with the battery the whole time. But it looks like we can just mount it right there. And so I assume that this is the harness that connects. It looks like a little weatherproof Packard connection right there. It's high quality. To this Canon plug there. That will go to the battery. I think there's a communication port right there. Alright, so I need to take this back apart again. Undo all my hard work that you guys just watched me do. I just have to turn the battery off, disconnect the leads. I'm doing my best to ignore all the spider webs that exist on this golf cart. And I was going to try to route the wiring up to the front underneath, but I am learning about golf carts doing this video too. And it looks like if I pull that pin right there, just that body plug, I couldn't figure out how they're getting wiring up there, but you can see the wiring's going through a channel right there from the middle over here. So I think if I get this floor mat out of the way, I'll be able to run this harness very easily without having to zip tie it and underneath like a normal vehicle. Let me just plug it in, route it here, and put the display over there. And I'm a little curious if this is like some sort of like kill switch right down there. Huh. It just loops together. We'll figure out that later. Or maybe somebody knows that's watching this and just put it in the comments so I don't have to figure it out. I'm going to tentatively say this will be a lot easier to run the wiring rather than underneath up to here. Tentatively. There's 3 speed nuts underneath here. I'm gonna hope. Carts are supposed to be easy to service and maintain. This whole thing comes up. Ah, look at that, was simple. I was able to just aim for the channel down in there, just fish it through right there, and we can just pull this harness through. And now I can round it up to there. It looks like to me that if I just bend it the base of this a little bit. Instead of standing up proud like that, it'll actually go back flat against this a little bit more. Of course, I didn't bring my vise, but I do have my automotive F wrench right there that I can just use as back pressure to hold it as I'm bending the flange. That is going to be pretty much exactly what I wanted. Now, of course, I could complain that it didn't provide any hardware for this, but I'll be fine either way. So it looks like right about there and right about there. And I think this plastic is going to be more than strong enough to hold a wood screw. So I'll just go ahead and pre-drill there. Mostly because I bent that bracket so it doesn't put a lot of strain. I'm using some stainless steel screws. Okay. Perfect. Looks almost factory, doesn't it? Almost. But I do like how Vatrer went ahead and mounted it in a steel bracket for us. It's a pretty nice one too. It's not just bent over. Looks like it's been welded together too at the seams. Alright, go ahead and plug that in. Of course, before we secure anything, it's always a good idea to test it out. So I got the plug over there. Alright, now if I turn the battery on, let's see what happens over here. Hey, look at that. We know exactly what's going on. Just like on the server rack batteries that I just installed. So page 3 tells you the cells. Page 2, what's going on with it. Looks like you can turn the charger off and discharge off. Now I don't know if we turn off the discharge right there because that light is still on. If there's still power there or not, let's find out. I just got my meter over here. We're set for DC voltage. Go positive over here. So I am hooked up and I'm not showing any voltage. So now if I were to turn that on now, 53.2 volts. So this does actually turn the battery on and off. Alright guys, it's kind of getting hot. Alright, it's kind of getting hot in the sun here. Let me go ahead and install the charger leads on the battery, put those boots on the batteries, use the right bolts this time, and then we'll test it out one more time. About the only thing that's odd about this battery charger connection is that battery negative is blue, battery positive is brown. Okay, so even though I did want some protective boots on there to keep the connections away from anything shorting out on it, I'm still not a big fan of those. Because you see, even though Vatrer does send a battery charger with it, and it does have the 110 plug for it, the part that plugs into the battery as a charger is just free floating. There's not a socket in there. So if you want to charge up the battery, you're going to have to lift up the bench seat and then plug it in. Now, the nice thing about this one is that even though it's a Canon plug, all you have to do is line it up and it will snap into place. So you don't have to twist lock it. To unlock it, you will have to push and then pull after you twist it. But to lock it in place, just go like that. And then, of course, you can drill a hole, maybe right there to have this free floating somewhere. But nothing's going to secure that. I would have preferred that Vatrer had some sort of a mounting plate or plug, just like this right here, so you could have a quick connect wherever you go. Plug in the golf cart. You don't have to lift up the bench seats to do that. And now we can go ahead and plug it in and see what happens. Alright, green light is on. Looks like we're charging about 5 amps. Alright, now it's stepped up quite a bit. We're up to almost 19 amps of current. Only charge time is 50 minutes now. This fan's a little bit louder than the last one. And definitely all the connections are a lot stronger and more robust. Looks like a thicker gauge cable used all the way around too, even on the 110 side. So that's good. I'll go ahead and let this fully charge up. Then we'll test it out again, but I don't think it's going to be any different. Well guys, we're all fully charged now. This is a lot more convenient than having your phone in the harness right there and trying to read it while you're driving. We've already tested out the battery, but Did I do something wrong? Went from very sunny to now it's raining, but look what I forgot to put in. I wonder if that does anything. Hey, we're moving now. I guess that is a kill switch. Really inconvenient to have it raining. It says at this speed, 6 hours and 40 minutes. Not 7 hours. I don't suspect putting the charger in or the screen has any effect on the performance of the battery at this point. So that was just the update. They do send the charger and the screen, and that's how you do it. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. This was a little bit more challenging than I thought it was going to be, but fairly easy. Just took a little bit more work to do than I thought it was going to. I'm a little disappointed by the connection from the charger to the golf cart. Otherwise, really, really easy to recommend this system. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye. Spoke too soon. I found it. There she is. Why wouldn't the sprinklers turn on? I mean, why wouldn't the sprinklers turn on right as I'm doing this? But I do appreciate that that Bluetooth antenna is actually outside the box. So it gives you better range even though you're sitting right on top of it. And for those that are really concerned about it, I think I'm damaging the surround on the golf cart. This one needs to be replaced. There's holes in the windows, so that's on the list of things to do. Now, don't forget one more thing about changing out lead acid batteries to lithium batteries. Somebody paid $1 for these batteries when they were purchased all those years ago. So depending on where you take your batteries to, that can be $5 to $15 a battery you take back. So you can get some money back for these batteries and put that towards the lithium battery. I wish I could say my work is done, but there's more work to do.